Possible board comments or acknowledgements? Do I hear any? Nope. We're moving on from there to approval of the agenda. Do we have approval of the agenda?
Move to approve.
We have a first. Do I have a second? I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? I did hear you. Passes unanimously. We're moving on to the approval of the minutes of the April 17, 2024 meeting of the Tumble Board of Directors. Do I have any changes, or are we good to make a motion?
So moved.
I have a first,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Moving on to the public hearing on adoption of budget. Discussion and action on request for adoption of resolution number 326, a resolution to adopt the final budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, and the 2025 to 2029 five-year capital improvement. Matt Bauman and David joining you today, or just you?
David's here. If needed, he can answer any questions, but
Hi, David. Go for it.
I'm going to keep it pretty brief. So Matt Bowman, Tomo CFO for the record. We are recommending that the board adopt the fiscal year 2025 budget and 2025 through 2029 capital improvement plan. You'll recall at the March meeting, the board approved the tentative versions of these. And then this final budget, this proposed final budget that's in front of you includes a few changes, all of which are on the capital side, all of which related to updated information that came available since the tentative budget was prepared. Those changes I'll touch on briefly. On the capital side, one is Emergency Operations Center. Tomo's current EOC is located at our corporate building, which is unfortunately in a flood zone, and so we've considered moving that. And it's being considered, again, because there's some grant money available, so we put that in the CIP, although it's still a priority too. We don't know that we'll do it or not, but it is in there. We've identified the need for some additional fencing at some of our sites, and then corporate office expansion. If you'll recall, back in October, we discussed the need for some additional office and warehouse space. An opportunity might be available at a location close to us, and so we're looking at that. So we've added some money in there. If we were to move forward with that, we'd bring that back to the board. So those are the changes on the capital side. I want to note just that this budget, as proposed in the final budget, it supports our funding plan that the board approved back in the fall, which also had a rate plan associated with it. So this budget supports that. And then looking ahead, this board will see our funding plan again this fall and at the October strategic planning meeting. So again, we're asking for adoption of the resolution, approval of the budget, and I'm happy to take any questions, and Dave's here to answer anything on the capital side.
Are there any questions on the budget? Oh, thank you so much. I'd like to recognize that Ebert, Councilwoman Ebert is on, so beyond quorum, we're doing great. Thank you so much. I am looking for any conversation regarding item 7. Before I take a motion, let me go and open it up. It's a public hearing. Anybody in the public have anything they'd like to say? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close public hearing, and I'll come back to our board for a motion.
I'll make the motion. I move to approve the final budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 and capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2029.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ms. Ebert, I just want to make sure how you voted.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. If we can go on
Mr.
to,
Chairman,
yes,
is it okay if I leave? I'm so sorry. I have another meeting.
we
but
have
if
our
it's not
quorum.
okay, I'll
Thank you
stay
for
on.
letting me
Okay.
know, and thank you for being on for this. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bye-bye.
Ms. Ebert, please don't leave. We need you. I mean, we needed you anyway. You're very important, but we really need you. Okay, we're moving to public hearing on rate amendments. Rate amendment, second hearing and adoption, discussion and possible action on resolution number 327, a resolution to adopt Tomo rate schedule, WSF, water system facility charges, revising area fee, supply and treatment and storage unit costs. David Kershaw and Danny Rotter. Rotter?
Rotter.
Rotter.
Yeah, like rotten with an R. Instead of-
Rotten, I'm just gonna call you Rotten, if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just kidding, Rotter. Go for it, sir.
All right, Danny Rotter, Director of Engineering for the record. I also have a Dave in support if there's other questions, but nothing has changed since the last time we talked about this at the first reading. So the staff report has all the information. The red lines are all the same. We have not had any further communications from anybody with questions or concerns. We continue to kind of get the information out as the developments come in. And usually what we see is this rush to pay their deferred fees because it's a little cheaper to do that than whatever they're saving on deferring. So that'll be the rush between now and July 1st when these go into effect. And if there's any questions, we can answer them.
Very good. Is there any questions from our board? We've all seen these for the public, so you know we're not just making choices. We have looked at this quite a few times. So with that said, let me open it up for public hearing. Anybody from the public like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close public hearing. And I'm looking for a motion.
We can go ahead.
Move to approve the staff's recommendation for the rate schedule changes.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Ms. Ebert, was that an aye?
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Going on, good job, thank you, gentlemen. Presentation and fiscal year 2024 Q3 year-to-date financial results. Matt Bauman.
Okay, hello again, board. Matt Bowman, Tomo CFO for the record. This is the quarterly update on our financials. This is through March 31st, 2024. That's 3 quarters of our fiscal year. You should have the staff report in front of you. It's what you're used to seeing. Generally, no big surprises. So far during the year, no large unexpected expenditures, which is what we like to see. Water sales are lower than budget by about 6% or $5 million, which is significant. So we'll get to that. If we go to the second page of the report, this is revenue. And as I said, water sales, that's the first line in that table on the revenue side. $5 million lower than budget, about 6%. All of that's a function of the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year. I've been talking about that, so no surprises there. It's also 1% lower than last year. That said, we're starting to see demands pick up, and so I think the fourth quarter is going to bode a little better for us financially, assuming we continue to have this sort of seasonably dry weather as we've had. So we do expect that to pick up. The second line here that I want to point out is hydro sales. We're having a record year in hydro, and that's a big thanks to Ryan Dixon and his hydro group for keeping the hydros running and generating revenue. We'll go to the next page, which is operating expenses. Here, as I said, no big surprises. We're pretty much where we want to be compared to budget. Salaries, wages, benefits, 6-7% below budget. Services and supplies are actually a little better than where we typically would be. We're about 14% lower than budget. A lot of that's savings on our chemical costs. Some of that's price related, but also some of it's efficiency. Will Raymond's group and Darren Garland have done a good job optimizing efficiency of our chemical usage, which is our second largest cost. Power is number 1, chemicals are number 2. That said, the fourth quarter can bring higher chemical costs with higher demands, some runoff events. When the river gets a little dirty or turbid, then we've got to use more chemicals. You could see some costs go up, but I don't expect anything significant. I think we're going to end the year in good shape on our operating expenses, so I don't see anything of concern there. The next page is non-operating revenues and expenses. I'll just point out here on the investment side, that's the first 2 lines of that section. The first line is investment earnings. It's quite a bit lower than budget. I talked about this last quarter, but as part of the cash optimization refinancing, we had to liquidate existing investments in order to pay down the debt and then reissue that debt. That liquidation event we had a loss associated with liquidating those investments of about $3 million. That said, that's a short-term loss because that gets reinvested at a little bit higher rates. And so we actually should benefit from that, in addition to the $12 million benefit from that transaction in general. So that's why that first line's a little lower. The second line, $6.7 million gain, is due to a drop in rates in November and December. So that's the same gain we had as of last quarter. As the rates dropped, we hold investments at a higher value, and we recognize that.
When do you think
gain.
we'll see those earnings? When should we see that we didn't just lose 3 million?
Yeah, we'll,
3 million.
we've started to see it already, and so that'll start to pick up over the next couple of years. We invest anywhere from 1 to 5 years in our investment, and so as we've reinvested those proceeds of the 24 bonds, those investments are going in at a higher rate than what they were liquidated at, and so it varies, but up to 5 years, that's as far out as we can go in our investment policy. And so some of those gains are recognized over 5 years, some of them over 3 years. But really, our financial analysts did an evaluation, and the payback period was 2.5 to 3 years on that. And so anything beyond that is a benefit.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Okay, I think that's it on non-operating expenses. The last page of the income statement is page 5 is capital contributions. Here, the first line is grants. We received the AMI grant, $9.5 million. That's the big one that's in there. We'll recognize the full amount of that before the end of the fiscal year. Right now, $8.265 million for grants, you can see there. The majority of this section is connection fees, which are actually really consistent with budget and prior year. And so, what that means is the projects coming in the door we did a good job estimating how many of those would be going during the year, which is difficult to estimate. So I think this is probably the closest we've ever been to budget since I've been doing this, at least. The last line, contributions from other governments, that's the American Flat Project. That's really a in and out line item, so there's no financial impact caused by that variance. It's the spending on the project and then the offsetting recovery under the ILA. So even though that's a big variance, there's no financial impact there. And then lastly, I'll just touch on our cash position. This is the last paragraph in the report on page 6. We're $12.7 million lower than at the beginning of the year, which isn't uncommon for this time of year. Going into the fourth quarter and then the first quarter of the next year, that's where Tumwa starts to make up a significant amount of cash as we enter the irrigation season. So our costs are pretty fixed throughout the year, but our cash proceeds tend to fluctuate a bit, and the fourth quarter and then the first quarter are the highest of that. So nothing too concerning. Takeaways are, we're just lower on water sales. We've got a deficit there in the budget. That deficit's going to continue to the end of the year. I don't think it's going to grow any, but we're going to stay about that $5 million deficit in water sales. And then we'll see what next fiscal year looks like. This spring's starting off pretty dry, normal temperatures, so people are watering. So, and with that, any questions?
Any questions? Ms. Ebert, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. I think you did a good job explaining. I think the only question I have is back on page 7. There's a $3 million, 7, or is it 5? There's what is the difference between developer infrastructure contributions? Did you mention that? With
I
$3
didn't.
million off?
So developer infrastructure contributions, I haven't talked about this in a little while. That's the non-cash contribution of infrastructure. So a development's going in, they're putting infrastructure in for that development. We're not building it. The developer is building it. Reg stations, service lines, not service lines behind the meter, laterals to the meter, mains in the street. All that infrastructure is being built by the developers. And then once that project's done, that gets contributed to Tumwa as an asset. So it's a non-cash transaction, but we have to recognize it as revenue, essentially. And so that's what that is. That's another one that's hard to estimate.
So we didn't have as much work done as you thought?
Yeah,
Understood.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to make sense of the numbers as we go.
Yeah.
May I ask?
Sure.
So
Mr. Anderson.
What I saw is the correlation with also developer facility, or developer capital contributions.
Yep.
So both of those would go hand in hand, if I understood correctly. Is that?
There's a correlation there, but But yeah, the timing can vary. So that's the developer capital contributions and developer facility charges, which you see sort of an offsetting variance there of the first one's 3.5 million and then a decrease of 3.4 million. They're both really 3.4 million. And that's because we've split that now. It used to be budgeted in one line item and we split it, so it's really the same thing. But that's when they come in to pay their connection fees. So what Danny just talked about, that's the money we recognize, that's real cash that they're paying. And then that's actually, well, I guess that's gonna be after they've built some of the infrastructure, we've recognized it. The timing can be different. They are related, but the timing is not necessarily the same. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything?
Good.
Yeah. Okay, this is just a presentation.
Yep.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks for keeping track of all that and then explain it to us in our way of understanding. That's really important.
Good questions.
Discussion and possible action regarding the automatic extension provision in section 5.1, term of the general manager's employment agreement and possible direction to board council regarding the same. Ms. Jessica Atkinson. And I do want to just quickly say that I asked for this to come for two reasons. One is that we always say, some of our board members say we don't like the automatic things that happen.
Right.
And we say, well, it's part of, we're not going to always do automatic, we're going to bring it in front of us. And so this is proof of that. But then I think it's always good for our director to hear and have our support, know how he's doing, or she's doing, whoever's in that seat. And so I want to make sure it's in front of us, so.
Thank you very much. Good morning. For the record, Jessica Atkinson, HR Director. This agenda item recommends the board determine whether to allow the general manager's employment agreement to automatically extend for an additional 2-year term. So section 5.1 of Mr. Zimmerman's employment agreement provides an automatic 2-year extension through October 15th of 2026, unless either party provides written notice to the other by the end of this month, so May 31st, 2024. The decision to provide or not provide notice under this section does not require the board to conduct a performance evaluation, does not require the board to have cause to terminate. The opportunity is provided to both Mr. Zimmerman as well as the board to determine whether or not they want to continue in the employment agreement. Mr. Zimmerman has notified the chair that it's his desire and he wants to continue to serve as Tumwa's general manager. If the board decides that they want the 2-year term to automatically extend, no written notice is required. It would just be an action to say that there's no need for written notice. So with that, I'll answer any questions. If you have any legal questions, Justina's available to answer those as well.
So let's go and open it up. I think that it'd be wise to make sure everyone understands this and to kind of put it in layman's term. Right now, we are at a place that it will automatically go if we do nothing.
Correct.
Everything moves forward. And I'm at a place where I do believe that he's doing a great job, and I would like to see that continue. However, I think we're a board to get to make that decision.
Yeah.
And so with that said, please, if you don't mind commenting, to make sure we know how everybody feels about that. I believe that John would appreciate hearing from us.
So I'll jump in.
Sure.
So I just want to make sure I understand. The contract is, what is the term of the contract?
So it was, original contract was a 2-year term with an automatic 2-year extension that would go through that 2026 date.
So we're at the end of this?
So, no, you're in the middle of that, and so before the additional extension happens for 2 years, there's a decision point which would happen now. If either party determines that they don't want that automatic extension up to 2026, they would need to provide written notice to the other party by the end of this month. So we're kind of at the
I
decision
see.
point of allowing it to extend that additional 2-year period of time or providing notice to not extend.
So you do this 6 months before the end of the contract, is that the idea?
So it's written in the employment agreement that it needs to happen by the end of May. So May 31st, 2024 is the date that notice would need to have been issued to either party.
And then it would extend to when?
October 15th of 2026.
October 15th.
Yes.
Okay, so a little more than 2 years.
Correct, because of the notice time that's put
Yeah.
into the contract.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm fully supportive of it. Just to articulate that, I think John's doing a great job. I just want to make sure that we still have our annual review processes all baked in. I mean, this doesn't do away with that.
Doesn't do away with that at all.
Yeah, no, I'm very comfortable with it.
Just want to say I concur with my fellow members up here. I believe John's doing a good thing. My father-in-law taught me when I was a young supervisor, it's easy to manage good people. And I think that's a testament to all of you, that you're making his job easier. But I think I have no issues with the extension. Thank you.
Ms. Ebert, do you have anything you'd like to share?
No, thank you.
Okay. I'd also like to say that creating a team around you is a skill set that I think is also crucial. And I think this team is fantastic, but even who he's added and how he's functioned, we appreciate you, and I wanted you to hear that from us. With that said, if there's no other questions or thoughts, I know we're looking for a motion on this.
All right, I'd be happy to make a motion to extend the general manager's term in his employment agreement to October of 2026. That was
I do have a first. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second. Any more discussion? See none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And that does pass unanimously. Okay. Yay!
Do we need to do public comment on that? I just wondered the way it was structured.
No, because it's not a public hearing.
Okay.
Public hearing we do, and then if someone wants to speak on that
Okay.
at the end. So we have general manager's report.
So I don't have anything for me, Mr. Chair, but I'd like to call Andy Gebhardt down just to talk about as a board member.
Your microphone's not on, by the way.
As the board probably noticed, Tumwa has a new logo, so I'd like Andy Gebhardt just to kind of go through that.
Andy!
Christopher! All right. So you all probably noticed the snazzy new logo on the top,
Yes.
and you were thinking, that is awesome. And I'm glad you were thinking that. No, we've been, Tumwa started in 2001. We've essentially had the same logo since 2001. We added the quality delivered at one point in time, which we still feel is important and applicable and represents us. But times have changed since 2001, and one of the big ones is digital advertising. Everything's digital now, even digital communications. And our logo, our old logo, did not lend itself well to digital communication at all. The news had, they tweaked it a little bit to give our, what we used to call the meatball logo, and, just so that they could say Tumwa, but it wouldn't fit anywhere. Along with that, our trucks, we get blamed for every white truck that does anything wrong in the city. Because if it's white truck and it doesn't say Nevada Bell on it, or whatever it is, AT&T, sorry. I guess I dated myself there.
Age yourself.
Aged myself a little bit. So if it doesn't say AT&T,
So 1980s, right?
and if it doesn't say NV Energy, then it must be Tumwa. Well, as you know, every construction company has a white truck out there.
Yeah.
So we took a look at all those things. We met internally, met with the leadership group, and we came up with the new logo. We've got a couple different treatments that we can apply to, different applications, I guess would be the easiest way to say it. So I just want to let you know that's why we are, and that's why you were looking at that new logo and thinking that is so cool. And
I was wondering if you put a tattoo yet.
I have one, and I'll get one if you get one.
Oh, you be careful.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So are we painting our trucks blue?
No.
No.
No, it's a soft rollout on this logo. I mean, we're not going to waste money, but as we need to put new truck logos on, we'll put the new ones on new trucks. We'll kind of tweak it. People got some new business cards because we were getting some different phone numbers, so that was an opportunity to get some new business cards. So it's a soft rollout on our website, different communications like this. So.
Very good.
Sure.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Can I do one more thing? Since I'm up here, gave me the mic.
Just stay
No.
inside of the agenda.
lines.
No, I just want to, we had our Smart About Water Day, and we had 3 board members showed up, and it was a tremendous success. We had a lot of people put a lot of time into that, a lot of staff, and I'll tell you, they were very pleased to have the board members that showed up and recognize their work and recognize their effort, and I just wanted to thank you, so, anyway.
And I just want to speak loudly that the only reason some board members weren't there is that you scheduled on the same time as other things. But I don't know who I'm talking
Sounds like
about.
an excuse to me.
I wasn't
couldn't be
laying
there.
blame. People are busy, but
Yeah, but
we
it was,
had 3 board members, which is the most board members we've ever had.
I appreciate it
at that
very
event,
much.
so it was
Well,
awesome.
keep inviting.
And we talked about this in our last meeting, but I just want to say thank you for all of you that were there representing. And it was just amazing to see the people and how engaged they were, asking really good questions about everything from supply to One Water to you name it. And I just want to say thanks to all the staff that were involved and a part of it there. And it was just exciting to me to see the number of people that were genuinely asking great questions about our water supply, our how do we make a good water for our region? I mean, it was neat. So I want to say thank you to all of you that were involved in it.
Thanks. I'll relay that message.
Okay, we're moving on to public comment. Does anybody have public comment? Going once, going twice. Okay. No public comment. We're moving on to board comments. Any board comment or request for future agenda items? Okay, the only thing I'd like to say, and I shared it last time, and thank you, John, for joining us on the radio. He did a great job, and anytime we can get good information out there, it is wise. So I think that he did a great job. With that said, we're moving past board comments to adjournment. Fantastic. Have a great day. We're done.
Go team.